Game number one, Infernal Shrine. So we're again in HeroesLaunge, and we are still in the playoff bracket, and we are having CNN, Chen Needs Nerfs, now going up against the Forever Loans. Now, especially the Forever Loans, you should know already by the video that was on the YouTube channel recently, where they played on Tomb of the Spider Queen against CLN Giants. So yeah, we're gonna see how that goes. We actually had a couple of really cool games already. So, first game, Infernal Shrines, and let's see how that goes. And again, I also have Tetcher with me, so yeah, it's going to be a good one. If it's anywhere near as good as the last series, it's going to be fantastic.
Hooray! I too am here as the lobby is created. It is Infernal Shrines, as Khaldor already mentioned, and we are preparing eventually for the first ban. This is, I think, the longest we've taken for a first ban.
I was like, where's it going with that sentence? Okay, there we go. Genji banned.
I mean, I oftentimes wonder where I'm going with sentences, but either way, Genji and Mafia are in. These are standard bans. I'm just surprised the first one took so long, honestly.
Pretty much. I mean, on Infernal, I guess, I mean, you can still look at a ban on Garrosh. We have seen Blaze jump in priority. Maybe not quite as that extent that he's going to be banned on the first rotation here. But yeah. So, for now, Malf banned out. I would say as a first pick, you could still head into Garrosh if you really want to have him as the frontliner here. We've seen through MSB Johanna rise in priority as well pretty highly. So that's another option that we could see now. Maybe not even quite as a first pick, but yeah.
Yeah, I like Johanna as a first pick, but really only if you are second pick yourselves as a reaction to Garrosh in general. So we're seeing Blaze as a first pick this time by the Forever Alones. So now we will likely see Garrosh or something similar along the side of Chen Needs Nerfs, Hanzo.
I think in the last series that I casted of the Forever Alones, Blaze wasn't picked, and or they had Blaze, but they went Combustion over Bunker. I think if I remember this, if I remember it correctly, I'm not 100% certain if I'm mixing games up here, but I think it was one of those things where I talked about it to quite some length, but I'm not quite sure on which side that happened. But it's kind of funny to me that we have Blaze now as a first pick for the first time in today's tournament, in where they play. So I'm really curious to see how they're gonna run this now, because if I remember correctly, they struggled very, very much on Tomb because they didn't go into Bunker. So I would really like that. Just as a bit of an anecdote, I mean, I love Blaze as a first pick. I really think he's fantastic. He has seen great play at the midseason brawl. We have Infernal Shrines where he gives you a lot of just dominance in space and also control over the shrine itself. So let's see how they're going to follow that up. Hanzo and Diablo, absolutely understandable as well. I guess on their part, I would really enjoy seeing them going into a main tank and also support here.
Well, they are doing Assassin, and there's that main tank, but supports ignored by both teams as of the moment. And the Tychus, though, very nice against Diablo. If Diablo goes full stuns, Tychus gains physical armor. If he goes Relentless Soldier here. But Diablo, the fact that Diablo is picked so early really leans towards a hyper-aggressive comp by Chen Needs Nerfs.
So, I mean, I like the Garrosh setup here together with Blaze. It makes the frontline nearly unkillable. The Tychus is going to put pressure onto Diablo, and we haven't really seen too much Tychus play at the mid-season brawl, but I think at this point the thought process is just simply that they want to burn him down as quickly as they can. With that setup, I could have even seen them go into... I mean, this is one of the reasons why sometimes you might want to have your offlane a bit later. If you're already thinking about using a Tychus setup to burst down hit point heavy heroes, we've seen combos with Tychus Malthael that were extremely powerful that could be used as well, where you go for the bigger they are to burn the target down, put a bit more damage on it, and then you follow it up with Last Rites that can actually be really powerful if executed well. But still, great setup for them. Immediate pressure against Diablo, and the added benefit of Tychus is of course that Odin can really give you the control over the shrine when you need it. I think it's one of the reasons actually why Extraza is banned out, because first of all you're trying to establish a bit of a I really don't like the term support choke, but you try to limit the options for the Forever Alones, and if you have Alexstrasza and Tychus, you have Dragon Queen and Odin, and that basically guarantees you the Punisher already.
So, with Stukov and Leoric on the board as well. Leoric, one of the heroes who could also be fantastic with Diablo, because Entomb into the APOC, or Entomb into Lightning Breath, especially the new Lightning Breath, could be very devastating. And of course, even the Entomb into Shadow Charge can gain crazy value, just giving Diablo more walls, because walls are wonderful. But now we do see the... you giggling at that? But we see the
It's just the way that you say it. It's not that it's new, but the way that you... Yeah. Walls are wonderful.
Walls are wonderful. Walls are wonderful. How would we keep up our ceilings without them? For now, though, we need to see the Forever Alones with some kind of support at this point. With Stukov taken away, what is their reaction? They know they're against something that could potentially be very bursty with Diablo, but if they commit to Uther, there's still the opportunity for something like a Lunara who could give more AoE damage and punish them for it. So Rhaegar is a safe choice.
Yeah, for a second I considered Karazhan too, but if you have a Stukov against you, I think it's a little bit too rough. Rhaegar shouldn't really jump in too much at the front, because that would just stack them up for the silence. I love Jaina though. She has seen a lot more play at the mid-season brawl. With Garrosh, she has the burst damage. Blaze can also set everything up with a good jet propulsion, so great pick on their side. And yeah, the entire setup that we see for the Forever Alones is actually very powerful. I like that a lot. Whereas the question, of course, is still, what's the second damage dealer? And we could, by all means, I mean, we could see a Gul'dan here.
Yeah, Phoenix also could very much fit in here. They have the combo of course, Diablo Lightning Breath and the Purification Salvo. They have Leoric Slows. This is a Phoenix draft, if I've ever seen one. Hopefully it is the Purification Salvo build and not the Entomb Planet Cracker once again, because I don't feel they have enough outside if it fails.
Yeah, and there's always the heal to consider too. So, guys, that is going to be game number 1, Infernal Shrines. We're going to head into it right away and find out which of the teams takes the lead here. The Forever Alones or Chen Needs Nerfs. Alright guys and girls, game number 1, finally the Forever Alones going up against the Chen Needs Nerfs. And well, to the left side we're currently seeing Bias on Tychus for Forever Alones. We have Undead on Jaina, Rabbit on Blaze, Empix on Rhaegar, and we're seeing Xif on Garrosh.
And on the right-hand side, the return of Chen Needs Nerfs, with Galnaguna on Stukov, Vasamasti playing the Diablo, Ravatar on Phoenix, Rosmex on Hanzo, and Bread Bucket playing the Leoric.
Alright, let's see how this is gonna go. Another quick game here. First game in the best of 3 series, and I'm already a little bit hyped to see how exactly Blaze is gonna play out here. Rabbit on him, and already here in the early game, Diablo just trying to set something up. Galnaguna, of course, waiting for that silent follow-up, so if I didn't get that. With Sif using this Warbreaker here, there's a little bit of safety for them, but they have to be careful of the throw. Here's the silence, follow-up attempt, not there yet. Diablo goes in, but Bias dashes away. No kills for now.
Cheeky dash away with that dash talent at level 1. Going to be trying to stack up some globes for exactly that reason, for escape capabilities as the game moves on. Meantime, Bread Bucket continues to clear, and Tychus suffering again. Gets Diablo delivered to him. One auto attack might have actually killed him there. Vasamasti focusing instead on getting away.
Xif is getting reported right now. Like, Garrosh is trying to grieve his teammates here. Bias barely gets out and he's just like, oh my god, thank god I'm safe. And then a second later, Garrosh just simply throws Diablo onto him. And he's just like, dude, what the fuck? Great, loving it. Well, keeping them honest. I like this. So yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Oh man, if Diablo killed him there, I would have been so happy. But oh well. We see the camps being taken by both teams, trying to get some pressure onto this mid lane. And they're doing it pretty well, but the rotation in the mid lane. Minions, I think 1 or 2 minions might have been missed there by Decided to Forever Alones, but they arrive in time for the rest.
And Jaina, in the meantime, is riding the Golden Cock into battle. That's always a great combo, so I appreciate it. If not the money pick, then that is the mount to go for. Definitely a good choice. Bot lane pressure. Sif has taken a bit of damage. I mean, we haven't really seen a kill yet. So far, still the teams feeling each other out, trying to make sure that they're not really overstepping, trying to see if they can maybe grab a quick kill. Love how Diablo is riding the Goblin, so that's a pretty good one as well. And yeah, they're actually getting pretty aggressive down here.
The favorite is any kind of Billy mount and Stitches. That is absolutely my favorite, like that poor goat.
Yeah.
Anything where Stitch is just any tiny mount is hilarious to me.
Leoric actually sneaking into the mid lane here.
clear.
They were thinking about trying to slow down Jaina here and follow it up with damage, but that didn't quite work out. Now with the level 4s in play, we have the bigger they are already, and that is where Diablo has to be careful. But first of all, he's again aiming for bias. Now, Tychus is actually very far out there in a lot of these encounters, and this is one of the reasons why Diablo can just jump on him like that. So there needs to be a bit more careful with the positioning here. We still have CNN taking the bot lane camp just as the shrine is about to activate, so a bit more pressure for the bot lane. That's going to force at least someone to stay down here slightly longer than intended.
Now, the Tychus positioning you pointed out was actually quite interesting, because for one side, yeah, he put himself in danger. For the second, he actually baited in Ravatar, who only survived because he got his teleport in vulnerability frames, like non-existent frames, right as Garrosh tried to toss it. If he'd been a second slower or a second earlier, he would have got himself flipped and would have got himself killed. So the bait really worked out.
Bot lane is still in a situation where Hans is actually holding a 1-4-2. That's not quite what he was thinking about, and he's getting the damage in as well. A bit of an unfortunate situation for the Forever Alones. They're heavily getting pressured here in the mid lane. I mean, at this point, this is getting a bit serious for them. CNN, Chen Needs Nerfs are taking absolute control of the first shrine, getting the advantage here too. Now later on, of course, it's going to be negated slightly through Odin that we have on the Tychus side, but for now, they're actually engaging into that fight with half HP bars already to begin with.
Healing Totem is down though, never mind. Oh no, it's still alive. Will eventually get cleared up, I expect. Nope, they ignore it. So the Healing Totem does get zoned out though, so the healing will be denied there. And as such, everyone moves back on from Chen Needs Nerfs, putting pressure, and that's an easy first Punisher for them.
This early game is not working out for Everlones. Not at all. They are really starting to feel the wrath here. So they baited over. That's the first part. That's already good. But the follow-up silence is there and makes the defenses slightly more tricky. It should still be a double wall, or sorry, double turrets for now. And the experience lead is actually starting to build up here. It's also an attack where we have still a split. So there's Leoric up at the top lane and Hanzo down to the bottom of the map, which pushes another lane in. Now Jaina reacting to that. Undead is ready, but the early game definitely not really going in favor for Everlones. That's a pretty strong statement from CNN here.
Yeah, Chen Needs Nerfs putting on quite the show for the moment, keeping themselves in control. But this is far from over. They're continuing to rotate around for the moment, but you can see Garrosh in position on this mini-map, looking for his opportunity. Diablo actually goes pretty deep onto him, and he gets wiped.
Yeah, so we have one kill. And, I mean, in general, the early game isn't really mattering too much. The first objective is still pretty weak, but it just comes down to how much of an advantage you get from the first punish and how many structures you take down. If you can snowball it to an earlier level 10 and then just dominate the second objective, it's a little bit similar to what we sometimes observe on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Maybe not quite to that extent, where you can run from objective to objective with a talent advantage and keep your opponent continuously on the back foot. So that's the main strategy now for the red team, where CNN just tries to make sure that that's the case. And this heavy pressure at the bot lane with a well-placed silence from Gul'dan and Gunnar is really helping them to take another double tower away. Nobody can really move through that, so they're playing this very smart, and they will get an earlier level 10 unless they get wiped at some point.
Yeah, Stukhov's zoning potential is absolutely huge and a big part of why he is such a good hero in general. But for now, they're just grabbing more mercenaries. They've already taken down one tower here. Might look for a second with this Impaler, this caster camp. Let's see how much pressure they're willing to put onto this.
With a level 10, they can definitely dive this deep. And that's the big question. Are they going to commit to something here? So there's a silence again. 10 is there. Lightning Breath taken. Salvo. Dragon's Arrow. I would say for Stukov, Shove would still be great, and yes, he goes for it. And I think for Leoric, March would surprise me. I really feel, yeah, there it is. Entomb already chosen. Leoric with us at the bot lane could maybe open up a fight, but they can definitely push this past the fort and put a lot of pressure onto it, if not even take it down.
So this fort going to be taken down with the help of the Impalers. That is going to be a nice little jump-in experience. Meantime, Leoric still continues to pressure Blaze up at the top lane, has landed the majority of his drains here, so working out quite nicely. And of course, Neil Peasants is pretty good when it comes to wave clear, so that's going to help But they've grabbed a fort, but do you feel they could have done more with that level 10 advantage as level 10 is now achieved for the Forever Alones?
I mean, to be honest, I don't think so. I feel like the push against the fort was absolutely worth it. If you can engage into a fight, then take it, but it's more important to take the structures down themselves. And it's a great position where they put the push in as well, because the next objective is at the bot lane. That's where they took the fort down, so there's no fallback option anymore for Forever Alones. And the thing is that right now, with camps taken on both sides, this is really an objective that Forever Alones kind of need to win. Because if they lose out on this, they're going to lose out on the wall at the keep, maybe even the keep itself, depending on how the fight goes. But the experience is more so what worries me, because they are going to find themselves in that loop where they're continuously behind. This is the best opportunity they have to fight back for, well, in the near future, I'd say.
Well, that's what they're attempting to do here. Blaze with a nice zoning slow. That's pretty good. In comes Bread Bucket from behind, though, trying to punish Blaze, forcing him to use his dash very early here. 26 to 11. Here comes the lightning breath very early. Salvo on 3 members. There's the Entomb. But in comes the Odin, protecting Tigers at least for a little bit, but he's continuously zoned by the Entomb. And the Ancestral doesn't land because, well, Rhaegar was caught in the silence.
Yeah, Entomb and Arrow were actually really well executed here, and the bunker just didn't do enough, and now all of a sudden 3 are down, and we're gonna see potentially even more fall. Already the attempt to go for Jaina here. Undead is on the run. There's a flank attempt by Diablo. If he gets Jaina, that could be it, and whoa, the cleanse by Mpix was absolutely perfect, but it just isn't enough to save Blaze. So that's a 3rd kill, and the Protector, or the Punisher, already moving through the bot lane, going to be triggered in, but you can already tell that this is rough. Yeah, here's the stun, follow-up attempt as the small wall has been taken out earlier. Jaina goes down, and this is just CNN absolutely barreling through the bot lane, and they're definitely going to end this with a keep taken.
Ancestral doesn't even land. Huge kill by Chen Needs Nerfs. Punisher will go through this keep, and with another hero shoved away, they actually accidentally baited the Punisher to mid. They could have maybe gone for a core there, but instead, they just guaranteed themselves a safe keep and the chance to leave.
Yeah, at that point, it's really just a question of how deep do you go, but it's so early in the game that even getting a few kills doesn't help you too much, since the death timers are still so low. So they're moving back for now and playing this safe. And to be honest, it's all they have to do. You have a 6 kills to 0 lead, a 3 level advantage, a talent advantage. You can literally paint the map red at this point, get every single camp, wait for the next objective, gather experience to 16, try and force a fight or two. It's really their game to lose at this point. The early keep here, not even 10 minutes in, have just set them so far ahead. This is working out perfectly for them.
Really has. They are in so much control at this point, but the chance is still there. They've only taken down a single lane. So the next objective, if we assume they spawn in mid and top, which is quite likely, this is a great opportunity for Forever Alones to try and bring themselves back here. But you mentioned they might still be stuck in this permanent loop where they're always behind a talent as they're approaching level 13, but it's 15 with a bit available for Chen Needs Nerfs, and they are continuing to gain XP, grabbing this tower in the top lane thanks to Bread Bucket.
I think really the thought process for Forever Alones was, okay, let's try and force a 5 versus 4. Even with a talent disadvantage, we can make that work, and if we get that, then we can take the kills and close the gap a little bit. But as you said, the fight wasn't taken at the bot lane. At the meantime, we saw top lane pushing, so that's more experience for them. And now the aggressive moves in the middle. And I really like this setup, because you're so far ahead. The stat advantage alone gives you a fantastic lead. So Sif is already low, has to use Indomitable here. Jaina is down, great Lightning Breath. Ancestral just a moment too late, and that's the 2nd kill as Tychus falls. The fort also eliminated now. That's level 16 in their hands. This is an absolute full-out disaster here for Forever Alones. They are currently getting played to the wall by CNN.
Ancestral went on full cooldown. So that is interesting. I guess that's just how quick the kill was. As we do see Chen Needs Nerfs continue to push in another zoning silence by Khaldor, as they just are easy going to get both these towers.
Yeah, they're... I mean, even that's a kill against Garrosh. I was just about to say that Garrosh needs to be careful with the way that he moves out of the wall here. So they get that kill too. And, I mean, this is just brutal. They can just simply go for... Yeah, they get Jaina here for sure. That was a great setup by Khaldor. Really nice using his level 13 here, the Virulent Reaction, to lock her into place. And then the follow-up was immediately there. With the next wave of minions, they can easily push in for the 2nd keep. And then they can just, like, pull back, get the Punisher, and from that moment on, go for core. I mean, this is a fantastic and really dominant play. Arrow comes in, no follow-up, but all they need is a keep.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's point-blank arrow, so the stun is a little short in terms of duration. So like you said, keep down, Punisher is the new objective, and they can try and end with this.
It's a 4-level advantage. I mean, the stats advantage alone already is at this point so huge that going into the fight, even if you were on even talents, would just be a disaster. And we have catapults pushing through the bot lane. That's where Bias is trying to just defend it somehow. Everyone else is funneling in. This is going to be a 5 versus 4 with a talent disadvantage and a 3-level, 4-level stats disadvantage if they take it. Finally, Tigers is making his way over, but the bot lane is still pushing, and there's still also, I think, 1 catapult left on the lane. So they're giving that up for now for a little bit to regroup, but this is a fantastic position here once again for CNN.
Yeah, apparently the Ancestral that I saw go cooldown went onto Garrosh and landed. Here comes the silence onto Garrosh, speaking of which. Ancestral once again lands. He gets in the bunker, keeps him alive for now. Ring of Frost is pretty decent here, Khaldor, as Ziff is super low as Undead gets taken out, as is Ziff.
Yeah, 3 down, 4th about to follow. This is just bad news here. They're so far behind, and this was a desperate attempt, of course. It's a full team wipe. I mean, for that, you can't really blame them because they have to take it. They know that it's nearly impossible to win this, but earlier in the game, that was really where the mistakes came in. And that's 15 kills against a 0, a perfect game with 2 keeps down already, a 4-level advantage, 18 versus 14 as we're going in, and that is just dominant performance from Chen Needs Nerfs, and of course, therefore, they're gonna take the lead here in the series. In the best of 3, they're going to take game number 1, take it on Infernal Shrines as we are heading into game number 2 with an advantage for CNN here at HeroesLaunge.gg. Game number 1 was a bit of a blowout. Forever Alones have been taken out pretty harshly by Chen Needs Nerfs. Now we're going into game number 2, Battlefield of Eternity. So maybe with a different draft they can make it happen, but the first game was pretty much a perfect game by CNN. First pick, first ban now on the side of Forever Alone. So let's see if on Battlefield they have a bit of a different strategy. Works better for them. Genji again has an early ban here. But yeah, what would you think could be one of the approaches they could have to the game now, considering how map number 1 went?
I mean, passive play didn't work for them on this map. I would like to see them just go all in for poke or all in for team fight. Like, the passive style isn't working so well, so if you can go for out poking with, say, a Johanna, it allows you to really play on to the objective, which on this map is a lot more important in terms of rushing down buildings. Otherwise, you just got to try and beat your opponents at their own game and really just take a team fight comp you feel better with.
So we have a Hanzo ban early on in the game again, just because of the poke damage that he can put out. So that's shut down pretty early. Malfurion now as the first pick. So no Blaze, first pick shenanigans here on Battlefield of Eternity. Going for Malfurion instead. So follow up on stuns, having the silence, keeping the team alive. So that's also another really big one. But with how dominant we have seen CNN be in game number 1, I'm really a bit curious to see how they're going to play this right now. What the early rotation is going to be for them. If we're going to see another Garrosh, for example, coming into play here early on in a combo. If we're going to see commitment to immortal damage first. Deckard Blaze. Now, Blaze, absolutely understandable. I didn't really expect Deckard to be played with him here right away in a 1-2 rotation.
I mean, this is a pretty decent Deckard map. There's a lot of vision denial, which means you can get some crazy value out of the stay a while and listen. And of course, there's so many choke points, which means it's very likely you can pre-place potions a lot better. But overall, it's a weird early pick, as we've said before.
Yeah, the priority of the pick interests me. Like, I find that more curious than the pick itself. It's just the priority that it has. Now, Li Ming and Johanna being picked right away on the other side, and Li Ming has, of course, proven to be fantastic on Battlefield for the continuous poke that you can throw out, especially if there's a bit of a stalemate in the middle. But let's see how that's going to be getting played here. There's a lot of zone control already on the side of Chen Needs Nerfs.
Yeah, and this is what exactly what I asked the Forever Alone to do. If you need to either go for a divey comp or a more pokey comp. And Johanna is the best tank if you want to go for a chokey comp. Due to the fact that for a pokey comp, not a chokey comp. I combined all the things because it allows you to just keep that front line safe from any kind of hard engages from heroes like a Garrosh. While your backline just pings in damage. Li Ming's a great hero for this. Hanzo would have been one of those as well, but already banned. So the Maiev is a next best ban because that would have been the direction the Forever Alones would have gone to if they wanted a full team fight comp.
Bit of a hesitation here on the ban for Forever Alones. I mean, I would ban out frontline here straight up, or if there's any kind of assassin that you fear so much that you say, okay, this is going to Shrek us, then take that away as well. But outside of that, frontline damage is taking that away. Tracer it is. I mean, would it really go into a Tracer? Yeah, I guess you have Blaze already. False set first of all. Garrosh.
The false set's an interesting one. Global heroes on this map can gain crazy value, but it is also one of the smaller maps. So global heroes have been not as popular on this map compared to other battlegrounds. So the potential for plays, the Gust disengage could be quite nice, especially against a Johanna. Johanna's Iron Skin can really work against her if you are playing against a Falstad who could gust away everyone except Johanna, and then she's kind of alone and dead.
Now, someone has already suggested Sergeant Hammer, and I think with how much we've seen at Mid-Season Brawl from her and what they are playing right now, that would actually be a really good pick. Because you have Blaze already, you have a False that disengage, you have Garrosh who can also give a lot of protection and throw targets away, and you have Deckard for even more zone control. I mean, at this point, this is really just the best setup that you can possibly have to deny someone access to an area or to a hero. And there's no hard engage on the other side either. You have Leoric who could maybe drop it in Tomb, but that's already about it. Phoenix is there, and yeah, that's the hammer pick.
Hey!
So that was a bit predictable. After the 1-2 was already where you were looking like, okay. And then you have the rest come in, and that was just very much on the nose. And Vazmasti here says it as well. Easy hammer pick, and I agree. So, let's see if Hammer can bring them to victory. We have seen Hammer a lot at MSB, now we're seeing it at HeroesLaunge. So let's jump into game number 2. Game number 2, everybody. To the left of Battlefield of Eternity, we have Forever Alones, down 1 game in the series here at HeroesLaunge.gg. Bias on Li Ming, Undead on Phoenix, Xif on Johanna, Rabbit on Leoric, and Empix on Malfurion.
And on the right-hand side, playing for Chen Needs Nerfs, channeling his inner rich, it's Rizmex on Sergeant Hammer, Ravitar on Falstad, Galnaguda on Deckard. We have Vazabasti playing Garrosh and Bread Bucket on Blaze, the Triple B.
The Triple B. And as we're going into our second game now, once again, a quick reminder that for the rest of this month, the sign-ups for HeroesLaunge.gg Season 7 are still open. Doesn't matter if you're a full team or an individual player, you can still sign up for the Amateur League here. Doesn't matter if you're a bronze or a wood or a gold player or a grandmaster. There's like enough leagues and divisions for every single skill level. So definitely make sure that you check it out if you haven't done that. The community of HeroesLaunge is pretty fantastic. These guys have actually been showing up at the mid-season brawl with 60 people, and were one of the reasons why there was a pretty amazing atmosphere there as well. So if you ever wanted to just have a bit of an idea of what competitive play looks like, even if it's on a lower level, and play on a regular basis with people that have a competitive drive, then check it out. It's HeroesLaunge.gg. Just have a look at that, and yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome. The community, as I said before, is amazing. Just go to the website. They have a big FAQ that you can check out in case that you have any questions.
In the meantime, top lane was assaulted. Interestingly enough, targeting the wall, not the tower with Sergeant Hammer. It's forced a full 5-man reaction because it is a 5-man push. The 5-man reaction coming in from the Forever Alones, which is why we have a pause there of a voice comms issue. But it's interesting, you can see the setup. They did a fair amount of damage to that side wall, and Sergeant Hammer is currently in a situation where she's just arrived at a bar and is immediately surrounded by boss walls. But a tough day at work, killing a wall, and is surrounded by Deckard Kane healing. Just in case someone does dive her.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you get the wall, you have also right access to the fountain. So that's another one of these setups where you can maybe just like start to snipe that away. That really helps you also with controlling the top lane in general. So you can rotate with everyone to the bot lane if you would want to. But with that setup here and their comp, they don't really have to set up lanes at the bot lane. They can literally fly false that down, which is exactly what they're doing right now, as Leoric is also making his move. But I think it's a really good reaction on the side of Forever Alones that they rotated this quickly up to the top lane, since traditionally the top is the solo lane, and then you would oftentimes see the 4 versus 4 down bottom, but with Hammer in position they waited in the middle because they knew that they couldn't quite anticipate it, so it was a good reaction on their part as well.
Nice use of ambush, lots of sieging and unsieging, seeing as Resmex does not have siege tactics yet. Although, another thing I want to point out, Undead is playing this really well. The second anyone steps near Resmex, he immediately swaps to the phase bomb and just attacks them, doing AoE damage to Sergeant Hammer without actually having to go near Sergeant Hammer. I really like that play.
And they're really putting the pressure onto Garrosh in particular, so it's a bit of a static setup that they have for now, but later on in the game it's going to be interesting how they're going to play out for them. Now Ravatar still went into Season Marksman. Fawcett has been chosen for the Global and for the Gust to a big part, I'd say, but at the same time now we're having that added pressure onto the front line, which is going to be super important later on if he can get the stacks going. So that's what he's going to try and do here against Leoric at the bottom of the map. Still a lot of potions here after the top lane. Deckard is just throwing him out the entire time, trying to keep his boys topped up. But the pressure that we're actually seeing on the side of the Forever Alones is pretty significant here too.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that Garrosh is eating a lot of the hits. This is absolutely sensible and easily the best move. Galdaguna is too far away. Resmex, he will be sustained. This is where most of Galdaguna's healing. Breadbucket has self-sustained. Garrosh is the only one who is at all vulnerable to this kind of poke, but now we see Johanna in danger, but just too tanky. And once again, the push is completely shut down and forced away due to this pressure onto the frontline members.
Now, when you play the Hammer comp, it's not like you have to dominate from the beginning through pushing. It's just the auto attacks alone that on Hammer that are already absolutely great, and that's something that they're going to use. So you don't have to just one trick into trying to set up on a lane and push that in. But already a bit of a positional mistake here on Hammer since he was right in turret range. But the damage against Rabbit definitely forced him back and forced to tap 2. So I guess that was worth it. The Bird, on the other hand, gets plucked as Li Ming just moves in, gets a great combo off and lets an insta-kill. Falstad did not really expect that to happen this quickly.
Yeah, very nice blow up there, as we see the Fallen Shaman camp being very slowly taken here by Chen Needs Nerfs, which is giving a big opportunity due to that one kill for the Forever Alones to just rush down this Immortal, and they will do so, getting the halftime show before almost any damage is done.
And that setup is also pretty bad. They're getting caught in the middle of the map here right now. Bazen Masti is trying to buy the space, but he is going to pay a price for it. He goes down. They walked straight into that 5-man, and all of a sudden we're seeing a very, very different game if we compare that to our first map, Infernal Shrines.
Hammer moves in and will begin her sieging job, but that's going to be not even close to enough to win him the Immortal phase, thanks to the man advantage and all 5 members on the Immortal. The first Immortal is going over to the Forever Alones.
Now they at least pushed the waves in. That's experience that's going to be lost to the opponent, so at least something in the favor of CNN. But Chen Needs Nerfs is definitely having a tough time here. They're already behind in experience. Rabbit is still taking the top against Breadbucket on the Lorik and Blaze matchup, and we have the Immortal now starting to push in a few seconds through the bot lane, and that's going to be the big one. Like, they are really starting to take the lead here. Very good early game for Forever Alones. Quite the opposite of what we saw on the first map.
Risky positioning for Hammer. This is within Immortal stun range where she currently is. She has siege tactics, but it's going to be forced to be to unsiege. Second, the Immortal goes into melee range, which is now. You can see her being forced to dash backwards almost. Garrosh, though, lobs out a quick little toss there to keep his team safe, while Sergeant Hammer is in a very risky position. Remember, siege tactics online can remove crowd control, but it's still a little far forward for my liking.
Yeah, the damage on the other hand against Phoenix is absolutely fantastic. We could just see that as well. Like, Undead really suffered here, but they still got the fort, and that's of course the big one. Experience lead established. I mean, it's barely a level, but the extra talent's of course great. It shouldn't really be too much of a problem, mainly because it's all about level 10. It's all about when do you hit level 10 around the second objective. How is that going to come into play? And with what we're seeing here right now, they should be fine of reaching that in time. Hammer has now gone into siege tactics, as he said, and the hovering siege mode. It's pretty much the standard build on Hammer right now, which we've seen several times at the mid-season brawl. So really trying to play around that and now being a bit more, I would say, impactful with that setup.
You can still see, though, you're still vulnerable, even with that Hover Siege to Li Ming combos, as Hammer ate all that damage, but Deckard Cain healing up pretty effectively here. Dropping a lot of healing with those shielding potions, in fact, as well, making Hammer even more effective. And even to the point where we're not seeing Vazamasti and Bread Bucket eating as many hits as we have seen earlier.
Yeah, but now that's actually all of a sudden Phoenix in a really awkward spot, but he's not the only one. Garrosh gets attacked here again. Vazamasti moves away for now, at least tries to. Couple of potions in the way. Jet Propulsion saves at least Blaze. Hammer on the other hand. Yeah, that is most likely going to be a dead tank, and yeah, he's down already. Not quite what they were imagining here after game 1, I would assume. And I have to throw it out again. Like, some people still probably believe that Hammer is a bit of a trolley pick here, not quite serious. But ever since mid-season brawl, the perception of Hammer has pretty much changed. She was used against Tracer in the past occasionally because of how heavy her auto attacks hit. But with Rich bringing her into the game and, well, Genji playing Hammer a couple of times, all of the teams have started to really look at Hammer completely differently and seeing her as a valid choice in a lot of these drafts.
This is an interesting map for her, though. The majority of her usage that we started to see in those games in mid-season brawl was on Volskaya. Any map where you have to zone an area. This is one where you have to siege an area, which is potentially punishing. So it is like the value's still there. You can still zone your own Immortal. Right now, the Hammer is being used for the race, which with her damage is pretty good.
And this is a really nice position because you can literally simply attack the Immortal on the right, and once the fight shifts over, you only have to use hovering siege mode a little bit to transition towards the left and participate in the team fight itself. So that can be a pretty nice tool too. But we already see that we're having Undead up at the top on Phoenix, we're having Lorg at the bot lane, so they are trying to get to level 10. This is basically the name of the game for Everalones, and they're getting that level 10. And this is really this awkward situation where losing out on the top lane experience forces now CNN to play extremely passive because they're going up against heroic abilities now, and they can't really afford to take these fights anymore.
We have diverting power to weapons. Very risky talent here by Phoenix. You give him so much damage, but makes him so vulnerable. Li Ming with Seeker for exactly this reason. You can hear the ability landing, giving her so much more raise potential, and that will be the half-shield Immortal going over to the Forever Alones.
We need 10 now for... we really need 10 for Chen Needs Nerfs. Ravatar, the bot lane, if he can get a good boomerang in against the wave, they should... Okay, there they have it. He should be able to at least tank the wave down, maybe fly top and help out, because this is starting to really spiral out of control. You've already lost bottom lane, fort, and therefore the presence, and now you are threatening of losing the same up at the top. This is really not going well for them. And Undead is again pushing in against Sergeant Hammer, but at least some zoning out is happening now. The hovering siege mode is definitely going to be a big talent. Nice taunt, here comes the throw, and the kill against Phoenix. Well played here, especially by Vazamasti and Garrosh.
Ravatar went a little too deep, but able to barrel roll away. Very nicely done. Siege Tactics has to be used to avoid the Immortal stun, but that will be the Immortal taken out, but not before that top fort dies. But that kill is a big chunk of XP going over to Chen Needs Nerfs that they really needed. And
that was all Vazamasti. I mean, he really went in, just already brought the hero down a little bit. Then just as the warp comes in, or the attempt at a warp, he goes for the immediate taunt and then the throw into the backline. That was really well done. Creating that opportunity was pretty sweet. And also, robbing Phoenix of all his potential tools to move out of this. Good damage now from Hammer as well. They're really trying to capitalize on that opportunity and gain that bit of momentum that they had here.
Making the most of their minion wave as well, protecting Hammer from that Li Ming. Indomitable has to be used. In comes the best shield, the immediate counter follow-up taunt, just in case, by Respex. Sorry, counter cleanse by Respex using no siege tactics. Dodges the Seeker, eats the Arcane Ore, which could have gone certainly worse.
Yeah, this is actually starting to become a little bit more difficult for Everalones, but at least the Li Ming combos are on point. Bias is doing a great job with that. And I can see someone just later on eating those and making sure that Hammer is not pressured too much here. Now, they shifted their MO slightly. They transitioned plays down to the bot lane against Leoric instead of having Falstad there, so they can't use Falstad in these cases. But they are at least now starting to get a lot of pressure done with Hammer in these setups, and the damage output should actually reflect that. 24,000 damage on her already. Not quite on the same level as Li Ming, but definitely taking the top numbers for her own team.
Sergeant Hammer, once she reaches the later level, will get those hypercooling engines. This is going to make it a lot harder for Li Ming to land this combo. However, for now, like you mentioned, we need to start seeing someone eating just one arcane missile. That's all it takes to deny Seeker. So people really do need to be using, the frontliners really do need to be using their bodies to eat a hit for Hammer or two, especially during these team fights.
Yeah, definitely. Like 13 is also going to be important now again for the Immortal here. Down to the bot lane. Bunker is there. Blaze is in trouble. Nice body blocking. But this isn't over yet. Phoenix needs to be careful. Phoenix is going to fall.
Here comes Falstad, they're turning it round, Khaldor! Looking for Rabbit, the sleep gets Li Ming, which might in theory save Bread Bucket. The BFG does a lot of damage. Twilight Dream might stop this assault though.
Yeah, it was a really nice setup with the Stale While listener as well to try and take Bias down, so there was an immediate taunt afterwards that what they attempted to use for the kill didn't quite work out, but they have their level 13 now on both sides, and that all of a sudden brings them completely back into this game. So a really nice setup here. It's not only that, it's really just that Falstad is now also a lot more impactful with the damage thanks to Giant Killer on level 13. So great talents for them to come into this, and they are slowly and steadily starting to make an impression in this game. I would say they're coming into their own after they really struggled in the early game.
With hypercooling engines, Hammer is basically now thanks Brain. Hammer is now basically unassailable. She has a self-cleanse. She has a huge knockback. She has slight mobility, and she has a huge burst of speed. She is so hard to dive on now, and they didn't have much dive to begin with. It's now 100% down to burning down everyone else to the point where they can just walk up to Hammer. As we see them beginning to move forward onto the enemy Immortal. Damage is dropped. Undead with a nice speed boost, allowing him to micro around this.
Big push at the top lane though. Ravatar pushed the camp in and nobody is reacting to it, and that's a massive problem right now. Especially since they haven't really gotten anything out of it on the Immortal itself. Now Ravatar with the auto attacks, and against Johanna Leoric, he's really starting to hit hard. He's not the only one. Here comes the old Sif, is already low. Tries to somehow keep himself alive, but Johanna goes down, and that's not the only one. The bird flies in deep but dies, and this could be the end of Garrosh as well. M-Pix on Malfurion survives somehow and gets taken out by Deckard.
Rosbeck's on sieges, and as such accidentally gets himself caught in the boss stun there. Rabbit pulls forward looking for a nice kill. Rosbeck sieges up very aggressively, gets the unstoppable. Triangles being dropped, Blaze stuns, but Undead just trying to wade through and look for his opportunity to get Rosbeck's. He's now unfortunately though trapped away from his team and forced to teleport away.
Yeah, and there's still a camp at the top lane. That camp is doing a lot here, but Phoenix is locked down, and this time he's not going to escape from this one. Undead goes down, Leoric has fallen back to take the camp at the top, and look how experience has shifted. 15.5 now against 14.5, so we're looking at a level 16 talent that could be picked early on, and we have a 5 versus 4 on the map as well. This is just CNN starting to come back with a vengeance into this game.
They're looking strong. They are moving forward, going to begin their own siege. Rosbex is sieged up, and in comes the auto attacks. Garrosh and a Bread Bucket, Vasabasti and Bread Bucket, looking to zone out single arcane missiles. That's all they need to do to let Rosbex have freedom. But they're being forced back. Leoric percentage damage just so good on Vasabasti.
But they're really playing nicely around this, creating a lot of space and damage opportunities here for Hammer in particular. Already getting Johanna rather low, but here comes the engage with the Blessed Shield, and Tomb follows up, and that could be the end of Sergeant Hammer. Gets the ult off, but that's it. Hammer is down, but everybody's low. Bias is going down, the bunker eliminating him, and Undead on Phoenix barely moving out of this. That was a close call for him as well. Leoric dead, here comes the throw, Blaze into the fray, and all of a sudden, down goes Leoric, Phoenix, Johanna, everybody dead as the team gets wiped.
Falstad flew in for more kills, but everyone was dead on arrival. That was a really nice hit too. It caught Hammer while she was using hyper cooling engines. Can't cleanse that, but by that point, everyone had dived so deep, and that bunker denied so much value from the salvo. That was a massacre in the later stages of that fight. Good initial effort, but the 16 advantage, just too much.
It was absolutely brutal. And I mean, Galnagunar on his Deckard is actually putting in the work as well. Like, he confirmed several kills throughout the game already, but they are doing just absolutely fantastic in these situations now. Talent advantage, stats advantage, even the move up to the top could take the walls down to deny vision a little bit more, going up against Rabbit here. And at the bot lane, I guess it's not really a question of the forward falls or not, that thing is definitely going to die. Question is simply how much more can they get out of this push.
Amber with the world's slowest stutter step due to Homicide not being the fastest of abilities, but the damage is still good. Burning down this fort, clearing out the minions as well to good measure due to Hammer's auto attacks AoEing, so great for the wave clear. Interrupts the teleport actually does Vasamasti, but decides not to run forward for the toss.
Also, we have Seasoned Marksman already completed for full stats, so
nice.
The auto attacks are definitely starting to hurt very much now, and has the opportunity to get that increased attack speed as well if needed for the activatable. So great play here by them, and they are definitely trying to get that keep now. They're already trying to go for Johanna, and that might actually be the kill as Taunt comes through, and that is it. The silence as an attempt to turn this around, but the bunker immediately negates a lot of this aggression. Bias has to just move away from the fight here as well. Leoric dying, that's a double kill, and that's definitely going to be a keep.
Red Bucket was dropped low, saved himself with the bunker, and actually Rosmex trading up this time and choosing to save his own blaze as opposed to what's been the entire game the other way around. So really nice to see here. They are moving in for a core attempt, Khaldor, with 2 members down, both the tanks not available. Unless Undead can pop off huge here, this might be it.
Yeah, that might actually be it. I mean, with Hammer in particular, the range is just too crazy. Vazen Masti is also not falling, and Deckard just keeps them topped up the entire time. They're going in, and that's going to be it, Tetcher. They're going to take that game. This will be the 2-0 victory, if they at least start focusing the core, which they finally do. So 2-0 win for CNN over the Forever Lones in this best of 3.